Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome each and every one of you to another session of the Insights of Sierra Leone. As usual, it's always a pleasure to be on this platform, and I want to thank each and every one of you for watching all over the world. I thank you, and I'm grateful. The objective of this show is to make a difference, to see where we can improve, not just as a nation, but as a human being. But today I want to go in depth of where we have increased and decreased as a nation. Towards the end of the show, I will indicate to you when you should get a pen to write down the figures I'll be giving to you, and I would appreciate it if you would get back to me or to us if with your agreements and disagreements and your reasons as to why you agree or disagree. Now, we all hope for improvements as human beings, not just as individuals, but also within a nation. Things have occurred that many of us agree with and also disagree with. But today, I will state numbers. Numbers that I will give you an indication where you can go back and retrieve this information. Any and all information that I provide to you, ladies and gentlemen, I always want you to go back and confirm this. But I would want your feedback as to your approval or disapproval, and as I stated prior in the beginning, as to why you approve or disapprove. Now, the United Nations Development Program places Sierra Leone at the bottom of its Human Development Index. It stated that one of the world's poorest nations and lags well behind most of social development. According to the United Nations Index, Sierra Leone, it's at the bottom. And while I was watching the stats, I could not believe it. So what can we do to improve? Now, Sierra Leone for years has been ravaged by war and battered by the Ebola, COVID-19, the flooding, and the economic development has come to a grinding halt through the combination of the corruption, revenue, mismanagement, and misfortunes. Now, as we are all aware, corruption is a big thing. Now, the corruption is not within the people, but within the government. So the world is aware of what is going on in the country. And my question is, why is this still happening? If you, as a leader, as a government party, and you are aware that the world is not taking acknowledgement of what is going on in your regime, would you not try to save face? Would you not try to make a difference instead of continuing down this road? Now, diamonds are clearly linked to Sierra Leone's underdevelopment and played a major role in funding of the country's brutal civil war in the 1990s. Ever since diamonds were discovered in Sierra Leone in the 1930s, they have had a significant impact on the country, socially, politically, and economically. A different group of people would supply the miners with food and tools while they do the minings, but they would not get no payment unless they find diamonds. So you are telling me that I'm working for free, and the only way I will get paid is I find a diamond and then I give it to you, and you will give me something little while you get a bigger revenue. Is that fair? But again, we have to understand the situation of the people, where they're coming from, the need of survival. So they have no other choices due to lack of employment, due to lack of education. Let's be fair, ladies and gentlemen. Things we do to survive, to feed our family, to take care of our daily needs. So you work for free unless you find a diamond that you cannot say, I will use this to provide for my family. So you give it to somebody else that is going to gain 10 times what you get. And if you don't find anything, so be it. And also these diamonds that are in our country was what was used to fund this war that was destroying the country and killing our people. Again, where's our win-win? A lot of things that I'm going to talk about is not a win-win for the country, but we have the wealth. We have the natural resources, we have the beauty of the country, but are we utilizing this? Sierra Leone is such a beautiful country that we should be having tourists coming in. Now, I've traveled to so many different countries, but if you look at the beaches in Sierra Leone, the sand, so many people will want to come. If we promote the country in a right way, we should have so many people coming. We should have so many businesses that will want to come and establish there. Businessmen, women that will want to come and start their businesses there. But instead, we're not promoting the country right. When someone comes to establish a company, we, not we the people, but the government, will start asking them for money just to go and establish a business there. And which indeed will make a lot of these business people walk away. And when some businesses go there, the profit that they made is not utilized, it's not used in the country, but it's taken out of the country. Where's the fairness? Now, generally, Sierra Leone's wealth of natural resources, gold, iron ore, and rock has not translated in a better condition, living condition, for the people, and which indeed I've just stated. In fact, it's the total opposite. We suffer, other people enjoy. Why is this happening? Diamond mining remains one of Sierra Leone's most lucrative export industries, with an annual production of 250 million US dollars. 250 million US dollars. Now let's do the math in that. 250 million. If you convert that to Leones, how much would that be? Let's think about the constructions that can be done, the businesses, the help that we can offer to the elderlies. Let's think about the schools that can be built. Let's think about electricity being put into the country. But no, that money, it's walking out the country. What can we as the people do? This show is just going to explore the wealth of Sierra Leone that we are not enjoying. Due to the poor governance and the widespread corruption, only a fraction of this wealth remains in Sierra Leone. And majority of that little fraction, is not even 1/3, that is left goes to the political members. Why? Because they need it to put in their pocket. They need it to survive, while our people are suffering, while our elderlies are dying out of lack of medication. Medical is not provided for the elderlies. There's no something called free medical in our country. But again, just out of the diamonds, I'm not going into the iron ore or any of other natural resources. Just out of the diamonds, $250 million. Let's think about that. Let that marinate for a minute. If we are bringing this diamond out of our region, why can't we not utilize it? Why can't we not use it for our country? Is it the objective to keep the poor rich? To keep the poor poorer and make the rich wealthier? To me, it's ludicrous. But again, I'll let you, ladies and gentlemen, be the judge. And again, I said I would ask you to get a pen and paper to write the figures down when it's time. While international traders reap the wealth of what is coming out of our country, poverty and hardship is the reality of those who actually find the diamond. Poverty. They go to work, they find the diamonds, and they give it to somebody who gets a minor penny, and then the government get a percentage, and the rest is shipped out the country. I come into your house, let's just say, hypothetically, you're about to have supper, and I come and I tell you, wow, that food smells good. Bring it to me. Bring it to me. I'm going to eat your food. While I'm sitting there eating your food, you're standing there starving. I'm sitting there enjoying your food. Your mouth is watery. You want to eat. But no, I'm sitting there eating your food in your home. How does that make you feel? I'm quite inquisitive. I like to tickle the brain. I like to get reactions. I like to get feedbacks. According to the 2020 Index of Economic Freedom, the overall score was 48%, and the world rank was 168. Now let's go back to the rule of law. Poverty in Sierra Leone went to 40.7%. Judicial effectiveness was at 39.4%. Now this ratio's out of 100. Out of 100, ladies and gentlemen, the rules of law, poverty rights, 40.7%, a bit of increase. Judicial effectiveness, 39.4%, it went up. Government integrity, just listen to this percentage. Government integrity is at 21.8%, and it decreased. Let that marinate again, ladies and gentlemen. I see marinating. Let me repeat it to you one more time. This is the overall record from 2020 Index of Economic Freedom. You have access to this. This is not information that is hidden from you. You can have access and look these numbers up. You can see where your country is. This information is put out there publicly. And let me just go again and reiterate everything I said. The rule of law, poverty rights, 40.7%, a bit of an increase. Judicial effectiveness, 39.4%, a bit of increase. Government integrity, 21.8%, and they said decrease. The population is at 7.6 million. Employment is at 4.3%. Inflation is at 16.9%, ladies and gentlemen. FDI inflow, we are at 599 million. Are you following these numbers? Today's show, it's a numbers game. This information is public information. I want you to know the wealth of your country, but I want you to also understand the severity of the downfall. And I want you to consider as to Why is our country going down? I know a lot of us, or a lot of you, says the government is the government. I know a lot of us, a lot of you always say, well, the candidates, the presidential candidates are just presented to us, and these are our options. You either pick or you don't. So we don't have an option. We have to go what is presented. You're correct. Absolutely right. But also you have the right to ask questions. You have the right to investigate. Now the internet, you can Google anyone. You can even Google me, Unisa Kamara. You can Google Tony Blair, Donald Trump. You can Google anyone and get the facts. Before we select a candidate to be a leader that is going to be the head of our financial well-being, the head of our country, the head of our children's future, because we say we are in charge of our children's future. But if we're not able to provide, get a job, where are our children going to end up? On the streets begging, stealing, and then when they caught stealing, they're beaten to death, severe harm is brought onto them, or they're incarcerated. Sometimes, when I used to do this show, I used to get highly upset. And I want everyone to know the anger that I portray. But I know we, the people, can do so much more. Sierra Leone is ranked at 43rd among 47 countries in the world in the African region. It is an overall score is well below the regional and world average. Although its economic freedom had improved earlier in the decade during the former president Ernest Koroma, Sierra Leone fell back into the repressed category in 2019 and remained there throughout the year 2020. GDP growth plunged during the 2000 Ebola, which indeed a lot of things occurred, but we the people stood together and supported each other. And which indeed former President Ernest Koroma went into the public media to acknowledge the togetherness. I'm not here to give anyone credit, because everyone has their good, everyone has their bad. I'm not here to favor anyone. I'm only here to favor my fellow countrymen and countrywomen and the development of my home, my country that I love so much. In 2018 had become a relatively positive country by 2018. 2015, we had Ebola, a lot of things happened. A lot of people were depressed, a lot of people psychologically stressed, mental health has increased, but by 2018, it started rising again. By 2020, it's back to where it was. The most pressing areas for improvement in Sierra Leone that we need to focus on as a country: the health aspect, financial freedom, government integrity, labor freedom, and education. These are the 5 main objectives that we need to focus on as a country. Now, I can sit here and say, B.O., this is what you need to do. Or the next president that is going to come in, this is what you need to do. Or the former president, this is what you did wrong. Let your conscience play in. let your conscience dictate to you. Let's try to be humane about our actions. Anyone can talk, but again, my apologies, ladies and gentlemen, there's no freedom of speech. I'm sorry about that, I forgot. But it is in the Constitution. But in actuality, there's no entitlement to it. Let's ponder on that for a minute. Let's ponder on it. Again, let me just renege as to what needs to be improved in Sierra Leone. The health, the financial freedom for the people, the government's integrity, that should be number one. But they got it wrong here, but I will have to state it as it states. The labor freedom and education, things we need to put as a priority. Those are the things that we need to focus on. Sierra Leone became independent from the United Kingdom in 1961, which indeed have always states. But a civil war in Sierra Leone in 1990 killed or displaced about a third of the population. The country enjoyed its first peaceful transition of power in 2007. Sierra Leone had so much difficulties when it came to the transition of power. And its first transition of a peaceful transition of power was in 2007. Why are we fighting each other? Is there a better way for me to say this, that we are all one? Is there a better way for me to state that when that person feels pain, it can create so much havoc into their lives? But also understand the doors are rotating. Today might happen to me. What makes you think it won't happen to you tomorrow? Let's try to be humane to each other. Let's acknowledge each other as brothers and sisters. They always say, if you don't help you, how can I help you? And if we help each other, we can become stronger. Let's remember this, ladies and gentlemen. Although the mining of iron ore has been suspended now till 2021, nevertheless, Sierra Leone remains extremely poor. Let me put more emphasis on it. Extremely poor. Where children are not going to school, they wander in the streets. Where proper medical care is not free medical care is not provided for the elderlies. But, excuse me, we have $250 million US dollars worth of diamonds live in the country. $250 million. Again, I'll let you ponder on that. Okay? Political instability has hindered development of mineral, agricultural, and fishery resources. Property rights are constitutionally guaranteed. Listen to this. Property rights has been constitutionally guaranteed, but the law do not protect those rights effectively. I've done numerous shows, ladies and gentlemen, and I've given you videos. I have provided articles on how the government is going into somebody's property and say, we are going to take your land. We are going to take your land and sell it to somebody else because they are the higher bidder. They are willing to spend more. What happened to the Constitution guaranteeing the property rights. Do you see why Sierra Leone we are not developing? Do you see the problem? Now, this information that I'm giving to you is also accessible to you. But as I indicated in the beginning, I will tell you when to get a pen to write down some figures. There is no land titling system. There's a minister of lands. I've spoken about him, and I've told you I have his number. If you want it, believe you me, I will be more than happy to give it to you, as I've stated on numerous shows. Why? Because he's a public servant. I'm not friends with no one. Because I have your number, because we have a conversation, don't mean I'm your friend. And I've stated this numerous of times. Personally, I'm not here to make friends. All right? Now, the ineffectiveness of the judicial system is so slow, it's inadequately resourced and subject to financial and political influences. So if you get it, the government has a greater influence into all of this. Of course, the articles are right. Because somebody from the street cannot just come and say, oh, hello, John, I'm going to buy your land. I don't care if you like it or not. I'm going to buy it. You have no say. Because you, Mr. John, will run to the government and say, hey, this gentleman wants to kick me off my land. But if the government approved me, what can you do? And who can you report to? It's a shame. Now, systematic corruption remains at every level of the government. These are all things I've stated, ladies and gentlemen. The reason why I'm so pleased to read this to you today is because it's coming from the word of the United Nations, the index. All this is at your fingertips. Systematic corruption remains at every level of government. In August 2019, Transparency International released a damning report on blood diamonds and land corruption in Sierra Leone. Let me say this again. In 2019, Transparency International released a report on blood diamonds and corruption in Sierra Leone. If you, as the leaders of Sierra Leone, are not aware of this, it's a shame. Because this is happening at your back door. Let me not even say your back door, at your front door. Because every time you come out to your property, it's unavoidable. You see it. You see people struggling. And you want to say there's nothing you can do. Or I'm doing the best of my ability. This is where I normally look at you in your eye and say you're a clown, you're a joke. Well, guess what? I'm calling you a clown again. Call me. Feel free. I'm used to you. At one time, the Human Development Index classified Sierra Leone as the world's most poor nation. According to the Royal Poverty Portal. All over the world, they're acknowledging Sierra Leone as the poorest nation. The United Nations, the transparency thing, the Human Development Index classified is also stating this. And if you are telling me members of your regime, members of your party are not reading this article, or it's not being brought to your attention, either something is wrong with you, or your party is not communicating with you, but most importantly, you have the wrong team surrounding you. Although it is currently not considered to be as relative as bad as state, but it is still important to consider the nation's economy, history. So to answer the question as to why Sierra Leone is one of the poorest countries. Now I'm just going to read history, ladies and gentlemen, because time is running. As the UNDP point out, one of Sierra Leone's downfall is its resilience in a large unchanged economic structure as low level of productivity, with agriculture remaining the mainstay of economy, meaning that a lot of people are mining, doing their own agricultural means of survival. If you live in the city, you're suffering. And providing employment for the 75% of the rapid growing population. According to Forbes magazine, Sierra Leone ranked at 131 best countries to do business in. And this was in 2018. Forbes magazine, you have access to that, ladies and gentlemen. Now, in the beginning, I indicated to you, I will tell you when to get a pen. Let's get a pen, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do these figures together. According to the 2020, this is the most recent updated Ibrahim Index. Look it up, Google Ibrahim Index, and you will see the figure. In terms of the overall governance, Sierra Leone scored at 51 out of 100. And it ranked 24 out of 54 countries that were studied. And there was 4.8 points increase in the overall trend in 2010. Increase, acknowledge that. With the following yearly governance score out of 100, 42.2% in 2010. Then it increased to 48.8% in 2011. Again in 2012, it increased at 46.9%. In 2013, increased 47.4%. In 2014, another increase at 47.5%. In 2015, at 48%. In 2016, another increase at 49.3%. In 2017, another increase at 47.7%. In 2018, it increased at 51.6%, and 51% in 2019. We're climbing the ladder, we're trying, but we're not there. I want you all to be the judge, ladies and gentlemen. Looking at the country's ranking out of 54 countries, Sierra Leone has made a steady progress towards the middle order, starting with 30% in 2010. In 2011, 28%. In 2012, 31%. In 2013, 29%. It remained at 29% in 2014. It remained the same at 2015. In 2016, it decreased at 25%. In 2017, there was an increase of 26%. In 2018, there was a decrease of 24%. In 2019, it stayed at 24%, with an overall change in the ranking of 6 points since 2010. Between 2010 and 2019, Guinea improved overall governance score by 1.3%, compared to Sierra Leone, with 4.8 points increase in the trend since 2010. Looking at Sierra Leone's score across the key areas of governance performance tells a rather mixed, disappointing story. In terms of security and rule of law, Sierra Leone scored at 52.2% out of 100. Sad. Participation rights and inclusion is at 56.8% out of 100. Foundations of economic opportunity, 45.3 out of 100. Tragic. Human development during the BO era led the government flagship program at 45.6 out of 100, which is a little bit of an increase of, let's say, 3. But security and safety, they stated, is at 84.2 out of 100. I want you all to be the judge because I don't want to sit here and narrate to you anything. I don't want to be the judge. I want you to be the judge. Now, this shows a decline in the overall human development trend of negative 0.8 since 2010, ranking Sierra Leone at 21 out of 54 countries. Please understand, ladies and gentlemen, this was studies done by professionals. I am not telling you whether they are factual or non-factual, but I want you to be aware where we are now. Anti-corruption. Another president, Julius Bio's flagship policy drive, Sierra Leone scored at 43.9% out of 100. Improved by 5.6 since 2010, ranking 20 out of 54. A close look at the government's human development score of 45.6% out of 100 shows an interesting picture, scoring 51.2% out of 100 for health. Education is at, as they state, 51% out of 100. Is it true? You be the judge. Social protection, 36.8% out of 100. The sustainable environment is at 43.4% out of 100. So what is the public's perception of Sierra Leone's overall governance performance? The public perception of the overall government score is at 56.7 out of 100, ranked out of 7 out of 38 countries and took part in this study. Ladies and gentlemen, the public perception of security, it's so many more numbers that we have to do this apart too, ladies and gentlemen, because I want us to understand what it is that we are going through as a country, where we have improved and so forth. So let's say the following week we will continue and then we will take it from there. But I always want you to understand that information that I provide to you is a factual information that is accessible to each and every one of you. So I want to thank you all for watching. I know today I was in a haste to do the show, but I just wanted to provide you with these figures. I want you to know where you're coming from, where we are coming from, where we came from, where we are going, what our intentions are, what our goals are, what we can do. If we can understand the figures, then we can try to make some sense out of it. These figures were not figures that are made in the country, but outside of the country, from other countries. So I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. I want to thank you for your involvement. We will continue with the part 2 of the Insights of Sierra Leone, exploring the wealth of Sierra Leone. Have a blessed night. Take care of each other, love each other, respect each other, and support each other. As a strong front, we can move forward towards success. May God bless you. Good night.